Hello everyone and welcome to week 4. This project's a little complex and I just want to go over it in a little bit more detail. The most important thing to do, of course, is going to be to open the template folder. There will be an Android and an iPhone template that you'll then place into Illustrator, and you'll notice that it has both the vertical and horizontal layout, which you can see right here. And something to make note of is you're going to identify 2 different applications that you would like to develop for your device. And this is going to be a 2-week project. The first part will be due at the end of this week, and then the next part will be due the following week, in week 5. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a 2-page lateral axis layout. So there will be the first page is going to be a tab layout, and then the second page is going to be the pagination layout. So, it might be best if you name one tab and page for another. And you'll definitely need to do both versions. That's why you have both here. You'll do the horizontal and you'll do the vertical layout as well. And you can have the same design on this page if you want, depending on how you set it up, but each of your 2 apps that you're going to create, more or less just the layout features, need to have both the horizontal and the vertical, if that makes sense. And this week you don't have to worry about graphics, you don't have to worry about text, it's just designing the tabs and setting up the pagination. And you'll want to make sure you follow, some of the basic rules down here. Create a new layer. You'll use the shape or the pin tool to create the tabs. Obviously, there's not going to be any graphics this week. You'll need to create these elements yourself. Don't, find something online, Bitmap or Photoshop. Really stick with using Illustrator. So of course, for the tabs I can let's see what I want to do. And definitely make sure, of course, you read this week's assignment, for this week's reading, first. And let me enlarge that just a little bit. And then I can just continue to, we'll change this color so you can actually see the tabs. And of course I'm doing this, rather quickly, so this isn't, ideal. And then, I could align all these . Obviously, it's my tabs buttons are going to be way too large, so I'd have to decrease them. But I could do something like this for some of the tabs. I could implement more tabs, of course, depending on different areas on the page itself. Definitely keep in mind, sometimes students like to do week 4 and 5 this week, and that's perfectly fine. You don't have to. But it might make sense for you to start adding like the names for the tabs here. This is where the content would go, so this would be like a wall of text, and we'll go into that next week. And then you could add a graphic here if you wanted to. You might want to check out on your mobile device how certain tabs look within any sort of app. And then of course what I could do for the opposite view would be something like this if I wanted to. And then, the text would be down here and the graphic would be over here. Perfectly fine. Then, obviously I would want to have, I should have made this a separate layer. Then for the second part of the assignment, it's going to be the opposite view. And just in case you're not sure what it looks like when it's paginated out, here's an example. It's almost like a scrolling, like almost like a message board, or if you've ever gone to Reddit, they kind of follow that structure within the mobile app. BuzzFeed's kind of doing that as well. So basically, it's everything on one page, and you can kind of just scroll it down. So instead of having like all these multiple buttons and stuff, it would just be, I'm trying to find a color that's not too obnoxious. And again, I'm doing this on, quickly rather than slowly. So then what I could do here is I could put, and let me go back. Or this could be title. Text, or you could say discussion or body. Those would all be fine here. This could be like text 2 or page 2 or discussion 2. Just something like that would be perfectly fine for this section, because this one's going to be a little bit trickier because, we really kind of have to create the content in order to really see what it's going to look like at the end of the day. But, this is a good example. You can, go ahead and Google and also look at this week's reading to help you. You'll want to make sure, and this part should have been removed. I don't mind if you upload it to your SOTD account if you happen to have one, but it's perfectly fine just to upload it directly to the Dropbox as well. I won't dock points for the URL issue. Again, this part I can't edit it out, but you don't have to submit it to your website if you don't want to. It is important though, and I noticed last week that, sorry, never mind. You need to finalize with a Word document just a brief summary of, what you're doing, the design process you went through, how you anticipate user engagement and interactivity based off your design. So basically you're just going to summarize the best practice section and the textbook readings this week of what sort of interface you're designing for both of them. Just, a paragraph is perfectly fine. So, I could say that, here's going to be like the title. Obviously, I think this would be a lot smaller. No one needs to see a huge title. And then I would have multiple text boxes or pages of text, or discussion 1, discussion 2, that people can scroll up and down to read, and then of course use via the soft keys or their own back button. Like for example, like Reddit up here would have like a little arrow that you could then go back to like the main page that you came from. That's something you could do. And that's something you could just describe. And of course you're going to want to do it for the other layout. So I could do something like that. And obviously I'm going to have to do a little bit of adjustments because, I don't have as much space. So it's going to be a lot tighter text-wise. But something like that I could do. And then of course put text 1, text 2. You can change the colors. Again, we're really going to finalize colors, text, and the graphics next week. This week it's like we're almost building a wireframe. If you recall from user interface design, how we created the wireframe, that's really what we're doing this week. And then next week we're going to, make it like a high def. Right now it's just a low def. It's like a mock-up of where things are eventually going to go, but they're not there just yet. Let me know if that helps. If you happen to have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. There's also a rubric that you can reference to make sure you get all the points. Have a wonderful week, and let me know if you happen to have any questions or concerns. Take care, everyone.